French colonized. They still spoke French, and a lot of their constitutions were written in France. Didn't got liberation. Definitely their currency was printed in France. Just imagine what the colonizer can do. He can print 2 stacks of money, one for himself and one for you. And he can do what he wants with his extra printing, because once he get it in the market, you can't prove. This was true over. I mentioned some of this before. Tests was corrected in East Africa. Tests was sent to London to be corrected and what have you. And so this was the effect of colonialism, which he was talking a lot to African crowds, of course, and he had a lot of good things to say. That's mainly what I say. And what he was talking about was he talked about many good things about African Americans coming back to Ghana and working their groups there. Now, that are going back, but they look at it all as positive. But Africa is very popular in the world today, and you don't know who those people are. I mean, you just don't know. They could be very, very good African Americans going back to Africa with that to help with chicken farms. Shoot, when I was there, they had one of the biggest guys in Africa was Chicken Davis. Chicken Davis was an African American, and you know how they bring these chickens to market here? He was teaching them how to do that with chickens, And then the brothers were showing me, he said, well, a bird, it'd take 8 weeks to get it to market, from this, that, and another, if you feed it this way and that way. So he was teaching, because chicken is a very healthy food. It's not a lot of cholesterol. You know what I mean? It's not a pork product. So chicken is healthy. In fact, they call it more like fowl. They don't call it meat. What do they call it? Poultry, yeah, meat. So technically.
Don't a lot of African countries that were under French colonization are still paying France to this day?
It's just sad. In fact, when I listened to his lectures, it brought back a lot of sadness. I had to go into optimism, because it was bringing in, he was reminding me of the patterns of behavior with his own. He's a good speaker, and he's bringing you up to date. And everybody is, well, it's not only that. If the World Monetary Fund and all these people give you a quick loan, like you become a dictator, you take over the country, okay, you borrow as much as they gonna loan you, and then you put out or you go run off to somewhere else, right? Well, or you stay there till they kick you out, but you put your money in a European bank in case anything ever happened to you. That's why in the Congo, Mobutu Seko, whatever his name was, that killed Lumumba. They killed Lumumba. Those guys, when I was in the Congo, the story was like this. If they stop your bus and the soldiers get on the bus, you break out running out of the back door. If you're just a regular Congolese person, because they're going to rob you. And the Congo, on all our phones, we got the stuff in there from the Congo. The Congo River could supply, the Congo could supply all of Africa and then most of the rest of the world with many of its basic needs. But the Congo was owned personally by King Leopold of Belgium. Yeah. One man owned the Congo. And that you have to include Rwanda and a couple of those places, you know. Anyway, this talk has some racial overtones, and the solution to these historical overtones, you know what I mean? In other words, well, what do we do about them, you know? What is our relationship to Africa? What is the African-American relationship with that and with back home in Africa? Of course, when we got back there, we'd all bow down, kiss the ground, and we back home. And it was just wonderful. The only thing at the airport, of course, white people getting off the plane and all the workers would run and grab the white folks' bags. And you just had to struggle with yours, you know. Because I guess their idea was white folks gonna give you a bigger tip than black people will. And they don't know whether you're American, African-American, or some other African, you know. So they know, basically, I guess their custom is they're not gonna get no whole lot of money from you. But boss man, Bwana in Cuba. Now Bwana just means human being, man. Bwana this, Bwana that. But Bwana in Cuba, it carries heavier connotations. It's like big Bwana. Bwana Kabir, call him Kabir. In Cuba, Swahili is very close. Bwana in Cuba, yeah, that's right. Karibu, come in, come on in, get near, you know, and Karib, you know, Nasrul Karib. Allah's help is near. So the language is very close. There's half Bantu and half Arabic on the East Coast in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Tanzania, or it used to be Tanganyika. So Bwana in Cuba almost has some godly like, and that could be the white man, Bwana in Cuba. Yeah, big white, big. Okay, so the Africans got through a lot of that, but I want to start narrowing this down to us. Would you look at this picture and look in this right-hand corner back there? Is that the right-hand corner? Do you see an Iranian-looking guy sitting there? And all the rest are blacks, right? Those are all part of different movements and what have you. And okay, now, you can see the Iranian guy. This is at a big conference. Imam Khomeini's representative. This is a big conference that people go to, and when I would go to them, even when I go to Iran and other places, and especially South Africa, you may be picking up a little money, and when I go to Africa, I drop off, you know what I mean? Because see, $1,000 or $5,000 is not going to rescue us from nothing. But for them, I remember KwaZulu-Natal, one of the brothers have a martial arts studio. And he had at that time 53 orphans. Now he's a Muslim and everything, but really good in martial arts. So his studio, because I was there at different times, and so sometime he got them all out there eating, and they doing the dishes, and they doing all that, like a one big family. But when he has his martial arts, they're all crowded in a room somewhere on the side, because he's got his martial arts studio. That's how he makes a living. And so I was saying, do the brothers who donate a lot of money there, the South Africans, I said, do they hook you up a little bit? He said, no. So I was down to my last money. It must have been about 1,000 or so. But to him, shoot, he could probably feed them kids for almost a year for $1,000. You know what I mean? At least it'll help him. It'll relieve the stress for a month. Let's say, and that's a big deal, right? If you can postpone eviction. In fact, it was in Durban. It was in Durban because that's KwaZulu-Natal. That's where the Zulus are. But, and this brother's talks, he was talking about several subjects, but the main one was leadership. And if you got good leadership, he was saying, and I think that's how these things got on my phone, because I kept going through leadership, and I mostly listened to the white man, Maxwell, whatever, John Maxwell. And it's reasonable, it's not bad. But I listened to a lot of that leadership stuff. And then I don't listen to it mainly to learn, but I look at it to get tips, and I can judge, not that they setting up the scale, but I can pick up kind of where I'm at based what they biggest people say, and you'd be happy to see that we think that we're ahead of them. Even we're learning something from them, that we're ahead of them. Why? Because we're under more pressure than they are, right? If they say adversity builds character and everything, and adversity shows you who you really are and all that stuff, then we're going to have 10 times the challenges that they are. Why? They're supporting the system. Whatever they're doing, they're teaching the system how to be better managers. They're teaching all these organizations that are not against the United States, that are not against Israel. So they're not going to have any, what they call adversity, it ain't nothing. It actually is nothing. But they feel it is something, so from that, they learn a little bit. Now, I was talking about this one because I started off with this one. And I started off with the other one because it deals a little bit with color and what people think. This one, the Iranian brother is just sitting back there watching. Now, this is in the heyday of go for the Mustadafin, black people, and help them. So right in the middle of the war, the foreign ministry had money and resources to help people with, mainly the Mustadafin, mainly us. In those days, we were the Mustadafin, or black people was the only ones, especially out of black people, the one who were Muslims, a few had leaned toward Iran. The majority had leaned or drifted or was bought toward Saudi Arabia. That's from day one. Okay. So you can almost read this brother's mind from here. He's sitting there just watching. Yeah, he leaned back. He's not participating. He's just seeing what conclusion will you guys come to, because they wouldn't have some criterion that you had to But they was listening to where you was coming from. Who's gonna be leading in this? Who's gonna be, okay, so by the mid 80s, if this was 81, 82, 83, 80, something like that, by 85, when we had our big meeting up in Canada, it was a Hodge conference, Yeah, it was a Hodge conference. All these people like this is Yassin Abu Bakr. Yassin Abu Bakr, the poor guy, he was there at this conference and others. I need guns. We're being oppressed down in Trinidad, right? Trinidad. And we're going to have a rebellion. I said, you ought to put a sock in, brother, you can't. I said, do you know who these people is? I said, do you know who's sponsoring this program? Islamic Republic of Iran. So if you see 10 people, you can say 9 of them are like they either on Saudi payroll to come watch what they gonna do, or boss man. Boss man, they underestimated boss man and his opposition to black people. Like even nobody picked up but us that if they had 300 extra FBI agents after the fall of the Soviet Union, they all went on black gangs. Nobody else black picked that up. I mean, like, hey, man, we got to talk about that. If this was the most important thing in their world, the big giant Soviet Union, and the second most important thing is niggas. Can you imagine? And then I don't know if you remember, but I gave khutbahs about that over, on 8th Street. Because soon I said, what? Okay, now, so everybody overlooks their importance in a way. Black people overlook their importance, and they overlook Malcolm X and they overlook all that stuff, They just overlook it. This comes from one, I don't know if you can read this, but this says, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, the most honorable black leader in the U.S. This is from probably 89, I don't know. This is probably 89, and of course you can see that was me. And I got a whole center page, So I'm saying to them, Malcolm X is the most honorable leader, most honorable black leader in the U.S. And they agreed. They put it in the news. So at that time, I was getting top billing, just like this all the time. This is all natural. In other places like Sri Lanka, same thing. Welcome Imam Abdul Ali Musa. There's a front page of Al-Islam over there, okay. So, and then over there, they're comparing me with Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. All the flyers say, Malcolm X Jr. and all that. That's that type of thing, a reflection of, a reminder of, anyway. Okay, now, y'all remember this one, the Negro thing here? Okay, you'll never find us on one of this. You may find us dead in a ditch somewhere, but you're not going to find us despondent and sad because we didn't do something or we didn't try to do something. Now, I'll get to the subject, and the title is, what is it? The Color of Liberation? The Color of Liberation. Liberation is multifaceted, and I'm telling you, it's very serious. And black people have a lot to put up with. And Africa itself has a lot to put up with. The last hundreds of years have been a